Why do we fall out of love after marriage? What's going on, you guys? Today we're going to talk a little bit about that challenge that every marriage goes through of falling out of love. As a marriage therapist, I frequently get people in my office where they're saying, we just fell out of love and we don't know what's wrong and we need to get a divorce. And I'd submit to you that there's actually some good reasons for that, and that before you go jump off the deep end and get a divorce, there might be some ways to fix it too. Hey guys, Tyler, your Wandering Therapist here. We're going to talk a little bit about love and why we fall out of love. For most of us, we're looking for companionship, we're looking for love. We end up finding that special somebody and we date them and we get Twitter-pated and we go head over heels and we end up in the commitment of marriage, only to find out that after 3 years or 4 years or up to 7 years, we find ourselves falling out of love and wondering one day when we wake up, who is it that we married? And wondering if we made a mistake. The first thing I want to talk about today is that that's a normal thing. That happens for almost everyone. There's some statistics and some research that shows that couples, when they fall in love, they have a brain chemical function going on that makes them feel like they're Twitter-pated. Basically, they're high. They have the same chemicals that are going on as if they're high on drugs. And those chemicals can last for anywhere from up to 3 to 7 years. And that's why you hear people talking about the 7-year itch, where people step outside of their marriages and have affairs and other problems, or they end up divorced before the first 7 years. Part of the reason for that is a chemical reason. We think that when we fell in love, we were supposed to stay Twitter-pated the whole time, when in reality, that was a natural thing that happens that attracts us to each other. But unless we're doing some work to manage our love and to develop our love, that won't be sustainable enough, because eventually those things start to wear off. And so love is something bigger than just being Twitter-pated. And I remember one time sitting down with a church leader of mine right before I was going to get married to my wife. We were totally in love. I was Twitter-pated. My wife was amazing. And we sat down with our church leader and he said, you know, you're not going to believe this, but eventually one or both of you guys is going to feel like you don't love the other one. And he said, I want you to realize that, number one, that's normal for it to happen. And he said, number two, there's a biblical answer for that. And the biblical answer is that every marriage goes through the same type of a pattern that happened with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, where they were put into this blissful place. They were told that they could go and do anything in the garden they wanted to except for partake of that fruit of that tree. And yet they ended up partaking of the fruit of that tree and they ended up having a fall. And this church leader of mine said that every marriage goes through many different falls. And those falls might be that loss of love. That might be that loss of like being Twitter-pated or feeling infatuated with each other. And he said, when you go through that fall, you're going to go through the thorns and the thistles that come from having to navigate that fall. And it will either pull you closer together and develop your love into something more deep and something more rich and something more committed, or it will break you. And most of us don't understand love well enough to realize that love is work. Love takes effort. And that when you start to fall out of love, it doesn't mean you should go and get a divorce. What it means is you should look around and say, how do I continually develop and cultivate love in my relationship? How do I move my relationship from something that might have just been infatuation into something that's got deeper friendship and commitment and deeper passion, because I can go and intentionally manufacture and pursue that passion. So 3 things to think about. Are you developing your friendships regularly? Do you know your partner? Do you know everything about them, from their favorite candy bar all the way to the biggest problem in their life and their biggest hopes and dreams? Be engaged in learning those things. Are we staying committed to each other and showing that commitment by showing up for each other, by following through on what we say we're going to do, and by keeping our word and keeping our integrity? And after marriage, are we as seriously invested in the well-being of our partner as we were when we were dating? It takes intention. It takes doing things on purpose to help the other person know that they're loved. It reminds me of the old Billy Joel song, Tell Her About It, right? You might love her to death, but unless she knows, because of how you show up and how you tell her, then those things lie dormant. If you're feeling those things, it's normal. You have an opportunity at your fingertips to reach into yourself and say, how can I get to know my partner better? How can I show a deeper level of commitment? And how can I build more passion by being intentional with creating those moments of passion? If you find yourself struggling in a relationship and wondering how you've fallen out of love and you're looking for some extra targeted help, you can check out our website at lovestrong.com, specifically with our online coaching page. Thank you so much for being here with me. If you found this to be valuable for you, please hit the like and subscribe button. If you're facing particular struggles that you need help with or roadblocks that you're running into, please submit a question. I'd be happy to answer it for you.